Welcome to Guided Soul Reflections with Purnima and Sangeeta, a sacred space where our healing energies come together in conversation about the spiritual journey and awakening. We hope it becomes an integral part of your everyday life. Hi, I'm Sangeeta Divan, a spiritual mentor, an Akashic record reader, energy healer, and a rapid transformational therapist. I know the pain of grief, heartbreak, and emotional trauma because I have lived it. And now I work with people who are suffering and looking to break free from old patterns and to take back their power, guiding you to heal, transform, and thrive.
You. Hi, my name is Purnima. I'm a spiritual mentor, healer, Reiki practitioner in training, and an Akashic Records reader from childhood of carrying masks, pain, and responsibilities to building a career in the corporate world to being called inward through illness and awakening. My journey has been about remembering. Today, I guide others on the same path of healing, truth, and coming home to themselves.
Do you remember the moment your curiosity truly opened? When you just knew there had to be more to life than what's you've been taught? That's the essence of the seeking stage. It's when our curiosity awakens and you know where to find, you find yourself drawn to explore, to books, to different teachers, to practices, maybe even podcasts like this one. It's time of wonder and expansion. But it can also feel overwhelming as you try to discern what's true for you. Purnima, when you think of this seeking stage, um, what does it bring up for you?
So, for me, the seeking stage, which is very much, I think you mentioned there, it's around curiosity, and I know we both have talked about we are both extremely curious individuals, and it's played out in different ways in our lives, and again, these stages aren't necessarily. One after the other, or okay, I finished this stage and I'm moving into this stage. It all, it sort of merges and melds, and sometimes they, a little bit more defined, others they not so much. But if I had to, sort of experience all of these stages, this one is particularly one um, that I really enjoyed. I and I think where I was in life also allowed me to enjoy this in a very different way. And I know even now as I'm talking, I'm smiling so big with such a big smile. But it truly. So I think I've always had this interest in, like I think when I was young, I probably maybe it was 18, 19 when I did my first, got someone to do my oracle reading or tarot reading, and there was never a doubt in my mind, just never a doubt that what they were saying was, guided. It was I used to always look at them in awe and think, oh my gosh, how amazing that you have this connection, that you're able to share this with me. And so it's something that I've always, I guess, used as a tool actually my whole life. I'd say pretty much every year something would call me, one thing, and usually in the line of oracle or tarot. I wasn't really aware of much beyond that until maybe in the last 5 years. And as I started, so COVID, we talked about the awakening journey, and when all of us started, uh, sort of, I started experiencing it all. For years, my husband would say to me, "Do meditations, do kriya, do this," and it just didn't resonate. And I was like, I know it was coming from a good place, and I wanted to, but it just wasn't there. And I was like, okay, um, one day it will happen. And then we went into COVID, and something, it was again a calling. I remember buying the Dummy's Guide to Meditation, even though my husband could have told me. I thought, you know what, I have a different way of learning things. I want to, understand it, etc. So that was probably my literally the very famous guides, the Dummy's Guide. So I've still got the book somewhere. I did that. Um, and the only way, to your point, the seeking, there's something really beautiful about the seeking, because it's almost like you're being drawn to things. It's like something gets dropped into your head, and then you're like, oh, where did that come from? So I think I had the same experience with Reiki. Reiki just came to my mind one day, and I went on to, I think it was Recommendasia at the time, and put Reiki, and a few people came up, and I started my Reiki healing actually with Sneha, who, maybe some of our listeners will know. And from there, um, it just evolved. It was Reiki, then it was energy healing. Then I went to this amazing retreat, and then it was the chakra balancing. So it's just, I felt called. It's almost like I was being guided. Okay, this is what you need to heal. This is what will help you get there. And it's not the same for every single person. Not all modalities are going to resonate. But I knew, again, and I say I know, the knowing is, someone that's guiding me. My guides are guiding me, and I listened. And I remember one of the most profound moments in that period was when I went to Italy on a retreat. And in that period, something came up that just showed me the truth about my childhood, that an experience that I'd had. And all of a sudden, I just saw how that played out my entire life. And I never saw it. I just never saw it until that moment. And as soon as I saw it, I remember my throat getting, even now when I think about it, my throat getting blocked, and something physically happening in my body. And I remember thinking, I need Sneha, because I need to get rid of this energy in my body, because I'm aware now what the root cause was, and I'm aware of the effect of it. What I don't want is for that energy to stay in my body. That's, as far as that went. And very quickly, I went looking for her, and she was really busy. She said yes, and then things had come up, and then there was this energy healer that was passing through that retreat. She just happened to be there, and my Reiki healer at the time had said, you know what, if you can get a session with her, go with her. And it was like the universe made it all happen. I got a session with her, and she, in that moment, like it was an hour and a half healing, but she basically removed, or helped me remove, the trauma of what happened in childhood. Go to my grandmother as a young child, go to my dad as a young child. We spoke about it, etc. And when I left there, and it sounds crazy, but people obviously know me, saw it happen. I definitely remember saying I felt like I had a rebirth. And two, I'd lost like 10 kgs in like a matter of a month. And that weight I'd never been able to shift. I have PCOS, so it was just, it was like a whole bunch of things. But that healing removed an energetic block that was so big that sat in my sacral. It just went, and it stayed off until maybe recently. But it was that listening to my soul or to my intuition that was guiding me, and I was being guided. So through, I guess, sorry. So in the seeking stage, very much all about curiosity, understanding what is the spirituality about, why am I experiencing this, asking all the big questions that sometimes people around you may have the answers. I was lucky that I could speak to Priyesh a lot about it, because for once I could actually, now I was able to ask him the right questions. And I read loads of books. A really good book. I'll put some in the notes and share it when we share the posts. But The Untethered Soul by Michael A. Singer is a really beautiful book to read when you in your a spiritual awakening path. And many other books. I'll like I said, I'll put them in the comments. And through that, I just say I've tried many things. I've tried various different things. It led me to mentoring, the mentorship with Nimesh, which for me was, then it was the crux of it. So it's almost like I walked this. I did what I could on my own, as such, like I was guided, do the Reiki, do this, do that. But then to have that long lasting and empower myself to take that ownership of my own healing continuously, because it's not something I can, for the rest of my life go out constantly and, do the healing. Is understanding, okay, what is it? How do I heal myself? Understand my traumas, and the mentorship helped me immensely with that. So, um, and that's, I guess, now what me and you are doing as well. So yeah, that's where curiosity has led me, and it's opened up a whole new world. I'm moving from corporate into the spiritual healing mentoring fully. So yeah, it's a beautiful stage. So yeah, I'm gonna hand to you.
You know what you said is, yes, we I love the part you felt, that the trauma that you held and in your throat and things like, and I felt it, and part of my journey was part of that as well. So I really could relate to that as well, that we hold on to, troubles and the things that are happening to us. And something about our Asian culture as well, I must admit I remember people saying about, you should listen to the adults, you
Mm,
know
yeah,
always right.
yeah.
And are they, my question. But I'm glad that you managed to do the healing and shift the weight. And I always say to people, if your weight is not shifting, it's not a physical weight, you're carrying an emotional weight. There's
Mhm,
a
mm,
something heavy that you're carrying.
mm,
Your emotions weigh more than anything else you can think. We are made of water. We are 80% water. Your emotions are water, and it carries. So you need to look at that. So maybe, our listeners, if anybody is going through weight issues as well, and look
mm,
through
mm,
that lens of, like, what am I carrying? What
yeah,
emotional baggage am I carrying? And the burdens I don't think I can put, or I've never felt safe. You know, we are here, kind of thing.
yeah.
But for me, seeking, and I love, for me as well, it's like whenever I think about seeking, it's the inner child, my inner child
Mm.
come out to
Yes,
play. Like,
yes, yes.
I want to know this and I want to ask this. And I remember very earlier on, when I was doing my personal development, attending seminars and things like that. And I would go and sit in front, how people sit
Yeah.
right at the back. I would sit in front and I would just, it was like, can I ask questions? And I remember our, spiritual teacher, Nimation Mind, Sidra Jaffrey, and I think it was my first seminar with her, and I was like so curious. It was like something she's talking, I want to know more, and how does this work and how does that work? And she said to me, I have asked 2 3 questions. And she said, please allow other people to ask questions. Felt that I was told off like a naughty
Uh,
child.
you were definitely told off. You definitely were.
And so I felt embarrassed, but I thought, what, I think that's fair point. But then what happens is people are too shy to ask questions. So
Exactly.
after break, when she says, does anybody has a question? And I would think, I know I'll ask a question which will benefit most of them.
Exactly. Exactly.
Nobody raised hand. And then she came to me, she said, Sangeeta, what question do you have? I loved it. But you know what, for me as well, when I was going through this research kind of thing, and I remember I had so many questions about my life that I left in India, but there's a lot of part of them were unresolved. There was a lot of wounds, they were unresolved. And I wanted to know, because I could feel that I'm carrying that weight and it's spilling over my family. And I didn't
Mm,
wanted that.
mm,
I wanted to bring up my children in a safe, loving, caring environment. But at times I was like, they were triggering this anger in me, that I was carrying. And it was not never about them,
mm,
what they were doing. It was they were triggering that by being naughty or by being something was triggering that wound. And I just became so curious. I thought, you know what? I need to seek answers right now, because whatever is happening to me is needs to go. Yeah, I need that. And I remember again coming across so many spiritual teachers, and the beautiful saying is when the student is ready, the teacher
yeah.
appears.
Yeah.
And that was so true for me. And it was like, okay, I want to know about what is bothering me, and how can I let go of it. And I switched on the TV. I remember, going through the difficult phase, and I was just flicking channels. I was just so bored. I was like, oh, this doesn't make sense, that doesn't,
Oh,
I just
yeah.
want answer. And I remember then coming across this channel, and Sister Shivani was talking about it, and whatever she was saying, I felt she was talking to me directly. I felt she was like really looking into my eyes and saying, this is what you need to do. So, of course, she talked about meditation, and my mind was too active, and
Yeah.
when they say your mind is too active, it's a lot of negative thoughts and a lot of negative self-talk. It
Yeah.
was, of course, you were angry with people who have done you wrong, but it was like, how can I be so stupid? How can I be, all those words? And I was not feeling enough. I was not feeling lovable. I had so many traumas and beliefs about me. So when she said start to do meditation, and I tried, I said, no, this is not happening. But then what I was good at, I didn't give up.
Yeah.
I thought, okay, there must be different types of meditation. So I
Mm.
searched about all the different types of meditation. And then what led me to then a meditation that was guided.
Yeah.
Because I realized, and I remember actually listening to a teacher saying, your mind cannot think two thoughts at the same time. If it is thinking a positive thought, it can't create negative thought.
Right.
And maybe in the beginning, you just need that respite for
Mm.
5 minutes, not thinking about whatever you're thinking about or whatever is going in your mind. I was like, wow, I like this idea. And they said, then you will feel your energy shift and all of that. And I was the beginner. And then I found this teacher, was Abraham Hicks,
Right.
and it's like, and seeking is all about, isn't it?
Yeah.
Then I flicked the TV, Sister Shivani was there, then I went on YouTube, and guess what, Abraham Hicks was talking about that. And then she shared a link about her meditation, and I went there, and oh my God, Purnima, I can't tell you, I felt like that was the biggest blessing of my life, that for 15 minutes I was so immersed in what she was saying or guiding, and thinking about my breathing and everything else, that of course in those 15 minutes your energy shifts,
Yeah.
and I did that meditation for, it's like I was like a child. I found something that's working, I'm never going to
Yeah.
let it go.
Yeah.
I held on to
Absolutely.
it, and I did it for 6 months. And in 6 months I realized now my mind was slowing down. Now I can start to think and look. That happened
Mm.
in first 6 months.
Mm.
I was becoming an observer. I was
Yeah. The
thinking, oh
awareness.
my, and it was
Mm.
horrifying me because I could see how my self-talk was, how negative it was.
Mm.
And we blame other people for doing wrong things to
Mm.
us, and maybe just saying something bad,
Yeah.
and we get upset. But I realized that that person has said something negative to me or about me once,
Yeah.
but I have recreated that thousands and thousands of time,
Mm.
thinking about it again and again
Yeah.
and again.
And
So how much damage was I causing
yeah.
myself, you
Absolutely.
know?
Yeah.
And that baffled me, made me angry about myself, and just like, no, this needs to stop. So seeking was a fun thing, but and then from Abraham Hicks, then I found Sadhguru, I found Sidra Jafri. But one thing, when I look back, was common in all those teachers were something about their voice.
Mm.
Something they were saying was sitting well with me. It was resonating with me. It was like my soul was recognizing. My
Yeah.
human
You're
mind
remembering.
couldn't,
Mm.
yeah, my human mind couldn't make sense. Like, okay, I've never heard to Abraham Hicks. Who is she? And what is this channeling about? My mind was calming. I wasn't, like you were saying, it's like we are cynical and we want to know, and our mind wants to understand, but your soul just knows
Yeah.
the truth.
Yeah.
And I think that's the resonance of the teacher. But again, there was a time I was listening to a teacher, and most of the things they were saying was sitting well with me. And then couple of things they said, I said, no, in me,
Mm.
like, I'm like,
Mm.
no, that's not right. And I was not saying that it's not right what they were saying. It didn't feel right for me.
Mm.
Maybe in that moment it didn't feel right. Maybe it was the practice. It didn't resonate with me. And in that moment, I felt bad. I felt guilty about it. It's like, how can I have double standards? I like them, but I'm not agreeing with them. And then I questioned, but who am I to agree with them? So many
Yeah.
questions come. But then, as we say, this journey is so beautiful, and how it just unravels, or is just, and our mind is expanding. But
Mm.
I think there's something about the resonance of what they say. Does it
Yeah.
sit well with you or not? The voice, I don't know. What do you think? I mean, that's what my seeking was about always. Wherever I switched on TV, YouTube, phone, the right videos, the right talks, the right books were coming to me.
Yeah.
And I think slowly and slowly, in last 15 years, that's the journey. And again, like you and me meet here,
Yeah.
with after
Yeah.
an images mentoring, and we form a group and we met in person. So how beautiful is that?
Yeah. The
But
seeking.
again, the journey
Yeah.
is fun, it's painful, it's all of those things in
It
one,
is. It
but
is.
if we keep going, it brings us to a place of where we feel little bit of peace, and saying, now I know it was bringing us to this point. But while you're in there, it's, there is no clarity, there is no sureness,
Yeah.
but because you keep going, you come to a place of saying, now I know, looking back and think,
Yeah.
okay, all those steps, all those books, all those teachers, now they all make
Makes
sense,
sense. Yeah.
you know
Absolutely. And I think the with the seeking, what's interesting, I like when I talk about the untethered soul, I'm just using that
Mm,
as an example. I think from 2023 is when I first heard about the book, read it. Some of it resonated, some of it, literally went over my head. And since then, I've probably read it 2 or 3 times. And each time I read it, something new, it's like all of a sudden, okay, that makes so much of sense.
yeah.
Whereas previously, I wasn't there. I wasn't ready to understand what that was saying. And um, so that was one part in terms of, the seeking. And I think the other part that, you were talking about that really resonated was, each person's spiritual journey is unique. And, we talk about spiritual sovereignty in the sense that you equally can't give your power away, or your journey over, or because again, that's another form of us going back to that stage where you're seeking validation, or you're
Yeah.
seeking permission, or okay, this guru said this, so that must be the right way. And it's again, it's that part of always questioning, does this resonate with me, really questioning with your inner part, and we'll talk about you're going to do a little soul tool and guidance around discernment. But it's, even in the spiritual world, you're going to meet a lot of people, you're going to try many modalities. It's ensuring that you stay true to who you are and take what resonates, leave what doesn't. um, and yeah, there is magic in each of those modalities. It truly is. Yeah, it's beautiful. So yeah, I'll hand over to you to talk to us about some of the soul tools, and then I'll do a card pull.
Yeah, and you know what? I remember talking to a friend a couple of weeks ago, and I was saying, we were talking about who do they follow or listen to, and they were saying, "Oh no, I don't like that person," or "I do like that person," and I was talking to them about, that's where our discernment come. The
Mm,
voice is the vibration that
mm,
seeps in and makes us know that does that feel right or not.
mm,
So I suppose in our tools this week, what we want to talk about is, if you are listening to, if you're going through this awakening journey and you're seeking answers outside of us, which is fine, that is part of us, that is stage of us, and it will eventually lead you to going within. But currently, no matter which stage you're in, and you might think you're not even going through awakening, you're just going
mm,
through some difficulties,
mm,
you come up across a podcast or a teacher or a book. I want you to journal today. Okay, take a piece of paper if you don't have a journal, or buy a journal. It's a great tool to have, and write down, you know, in details what resonated with you when you heard a particular teacher or a spiritual guru, or what practice, somebody's telling you to do. What resonated with you? Did their voice resonated with you? What their words resonated with you? And how, or something that didn't sat well with you, and how will you discern that is something that resonates with you? It will feel easy. It'll feel like expansion. Yeah, your soul is expanding through their words, what they're teaching. And what will not resonate, how will you find out? It's about, it might feel heavy. It might feel it's draining your energy. When you're listening to them, you come up and you feel heavy. You say, oh my God, why I'm feeling tired after listening to that particular person, or after reading something. So really pause instead of rushing into booking a kind of a retreat or something like that. I have done this particular practice, is that if I listen to a teacher, I follow them for few months,
Mm,
for 6 months, and
mm,
follow them and think, okay, what are they saying? Do I resonate with them or not? And then I say, okay, do I want to invest my more time and money in
mm,
them,
mm.
and maybe buying their books, or maybe going to the retreats and things like that. So I want you to journal and see who resonate with you and who doesn't, like who feels like expansion and who feels heavy. And that's when you write it down, it'll make it very, very clear. So, like we said, instead of rushing into every new practice, teacher, pause to feel into what truly aligns with you. And I promise you will know what is right for you.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I remember someone that I worked with, our mentor, which I think we've mentioned as well, and you know, giving people space. So yes,
Yeah.
talk to you about this mentorship, and then actually give, people need to take responsibility for their own healing. So take that 5 days. If you need 5 days to say, you know what, okay, before I make a decision, I'm not going to rush into this. This is important. Um, Take that time, listen to your soul, ask your soul, speak to yourself, and you'll find the answer. And if you most times when the answer is yes, you'll feel, not most times, when the answer is yes, you'll feel it in your heart. And
Yeah.
it's it's so resounding that you just know
Yeah.
you've got to, again, this is where faith comes in.
Mm.
So yeah, perfect. Okay, so I'm gonna do a card pull again.
Yay, I'm excited.
Let's see what our guides have for our listeners. Regardless of when you hear this message, it will stay true. And again, take what resonates and leave what doesn't. The message is, yeah, for the seekers in all of us. What does our guides have? Ooh, oh wow. Okay. The card is have courage, awaken the warrior of light within you.
Wow.
I mean, here we
Oh,
go. Seekers,
gosh.
there's it. Okay. Let's see what the number is 7. I don't 43. Let's see. Oh, it's almost the last one. Okay. So this card will guide you on the path of light-filled warrior. It
Mhm.
indicates that you should face up to the challenges of life. The light-filled warrior does not become angry over difficult situations or attempt to blame others for their own suffering, the deceits, lies, or pain they encounter in life. Instead, they are courageous and overcome all the lies they tell themselves. If they lack a courageous heart, they will have no love of life. Your soul is calling on you to be brave, to climb life's peaks, and not to fear the lows. Everything helps to support the growth of your consciousness, the successes and the highs, along with the defeats and the lows. The journey in which you find yourself is long, and no one can predict how it will be, whether it will be safe or whether it will bring you great suffering or deep joy. The journey in itself is the adventure. Do not be afraid. Wake up the lightful warrior within you. It will be your protection. And never seek again someone to blame. They do not exist. Your destiny is not controlled by others, but is entirely in the hands of God, who will always react to the impulses emanating from you. You are the one who creates the successes and victories in your life, not to mention the defeats, which is a very hard message for us to truly embody. But once you understand it, you once you get that understanding, there's a sense of massive freedom that comes with it. Um, yeah. What are your thoughts on that?
My God, I think it's just so apt. We were talking about courage
Mm,
even in our last episode as well. And, courage, we do need courage. And it's like I feel at times that I'm like, sometimes like I'm like this warrior, like I'm going to conquer that situation, not conquer others, but conquering ourselves, our
mm,
own fears,
mm.
our own limitations at times. So I absolutely loved it. When you took it, I was saying, all right, then let's read it.
Yeah,
It's beautiful message. Thank you.
it
Thank you,
is.
Purnima.
It is. Thank you to our
For
guides. Yeah. And it is.
being-
That's actually really beautiful the way you put it. It's about having courage to conquer our own narratives, our own potential limitations, our own ideas of I'm a victim in the situation.
yeah.
And that really is and we'll talk about that I think it deserves its own space in another podcast. The idea around, us and how we impact our own lives and the pain sometimes. So, um, thank you. So, thank you to our listeners. If you've been listening today and you find yourself in the stage of seeking, curious, exploring, sometimes overwhelmed, know that you don't have to figure it out all on your own. Both Sangeeta and I hold one to one sessions where we will gently guide you with tools, practices, and soul led support to help you navigate your journey.
Yes, whether it's through mentorship, Akashic record readings, Reiki, or healing practices, we hold space for you to find clarity and reconnect with yourself. You'll find all our details in the show notes. And if you feel called to walk more closely with us, we look forward to connecting with you. You take care. Bye bye.
Thank you. Oh.